Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. We're here to discuss the recent 3 games for Paris Saint Germain in Ligue 1 McDonald's. So, obviously, 3 games, 3 victories. Only Ligue 1 team to get 3 out of 3 points so far this season. We've scored 13 goals, only conceded 2. I mean, this is a great start. This start, we get some vibes from that M&M season where Messi, Neymar, Mbappe were cooking at the beginning of the season, scoring a lot of goals and so on. The thing is, though, can we keep this consistently? That's the real question because, we've already said, I predicted this. I said this before the season started, that Paris Saint Germain will be a better team without Kylian Mbappe. And the most worrying thing for people was where the goal's going to come from. We don't really have one goal scorer. And that's where Luis Enrique comes into the picture. And he just says, well, we don't need one goal scorer. If everyone creates for each other, that means that everyone will have possibility of scoring goals. And that's why Paris Saint Germain have had so far 11 players contributing to goals and assists in their first 3 games this season. It's attackers, it's midfielders, and it's the fullbacks. So far, the center backs, no GA for them so far at the moment, but everyone else has eaten. I think Mbaye is the only player that has not eaten, and he will soon eat. I'm very sure of that. Mayulu as well. But so far at the moment, it looks great. Desiree Doué got his first assist as well. Colomani is doing some super sub stuff. 2 goals off the bench now. Let's hope Colomani can keep it up, because even when a player like Gonzalo Ramos comes in, Colo maybe gets a little bit less minutes. When you do come off the bench, I want to see impact. For me, that's the most crucial thing. But so far, we're playing great football. There will soon come a huge video, which I put a lot of time into, talking about everything and showing facts and evidence, like pictures, stats, and everything, explaining how Paris Saint Germain are playing differently compared to last season with Kylian Mbappe. But yeah, I'm so excited for the next couple of games. We got Brest at the Parc des Princes. Obviously, Brest not that great of a form, and then we got Girona in the Champions League. So a better test for Paris Saint Germain. Girona better than Lille? No. But it's Champions League, it's different, and we're gonna play at the Parc. I'm expecting a goal fest, obviously, but we'll see what happens. But takeaways from these 3 games so far, I think Paris Saint Germain, are just doing what they did last season, but in a better way. And then obviously some tweaks and changes, especially towards the attack. So we're having more possession than last season. We're better with the ball than last season. We're progressing the ball better than last season. We're penetrating deeper blocks better than last season. We're scoring goals and creating chances better than last season, because last season it was all about creating chances for Kylian Mbappe. If we created, we say, 5 big chances in a game, 4 or 3 of them would go to Mbappe, and then 1 of them would go to, I don't know, Warren or Hakimi or Barcola or someone else. Whilst this season, it's Barcola gets 1, Dembele gets 1, Asensio gets 1, maybe Can gets 2, then Neves potentially could get 1, Doué, Colomani off the bench. It's that variety. And I'm just looking at the opposition. How are you, as an opposition, set to defend this PSG team? Last season, it was, put 2 to 3 guys on Kylian Mbappe, and Paris Saint Germain will struggle creating chances for Kylian Mbappe, especially when he doesn't put any effort in, as we saw in many games. Whilst this season, I don't really know why you should stop. You stop Dembele, you have Barcola. You stop Barcola, you have Dembele. You stop both, you have Neves, Asensio, Hakimi, Nuno penetrating the central areas, Warren, Zaire Emery. I don't really know how you defend against this Paris Saint Germain team. And even without the ball, for example, against Lille, there was so many long periods where Lille had the ball, and we just sat back in our block, and they couldn't create anything against us. Obviously, they got 2 disallowed goals, came from set pieces. We know that's our weakness. And even their goal, that was more individual brilliance from Zegrova and, some, Warren sleeping a bit. But apart from that, when we sit back in our block, because this is stuff I noticed last season, when we sat back in our block under Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, that the time it didn't work, because they didn't work. And then it was basically a 4-3, and that was so easy for other teams to penetrate and put crosses into. But now that everyone is defending, Barcola and Dembele, they usually end the games with the highest duels attempted / duels won, which just shows the the difference from the attackers Paris Saint Germain have now this season compared to previous seasons. So when we're sitting in that block, it's extremely hard for opponents to create chances against us. I mean, we can even go back to Champions League last season. Sociedad struggled heavily to create chances against us. FC Barcelona, I mean, they sat back and countered against us. They played against our game. But when we were in our mid-block, Barca couldn't create anything apart from that, obviously. A little bit of Pedri magic, but that came more from the Donnarumma mistake previously. And then against Dortmund, I mean, Dortmund didn't create anything across both legs. So we definitely know set pieces, still an issue. I don't know if we can really improve it that much. Obviously, at the moment, we're trying to use the offside trap. It's working well. Has some disallowed goals at the moment, but I don't know if it can help us that much, especially when it comes to corner kicks, because you can't do offside traps in corner kicks. But yeah, the defense, as I said, looks solid. Midfield getting more of the ball, doing more. I mean, now it's more the midfield that's creating. So last season, it was more the U-shape. The defenders had the ball, and then they tried to get the entire team up. Whilst now, the defense is just meant to be a defense. They're just meant to stop counterattacks, get the ball from Donna up to the midfielders. And then the midfielders, they are pretty much doing the U-shape of LOSC. They're not doing a U-shape. They're doing more of a triangle, going to the sides. But they're basically having the majority of the ball, controlling, dictating the game. Last season, obviously, we're playing... I mean, Warren and Fabian, they were more in the half spaces, and it was Vitinha there, Hakimi next to him, and then the centre-backs behind them. But now it's different because it's Warren and Vitinha in the double pivots. João Neves can drop, Asensio can drop. So we pretty much have 4 midfielders, I would say. It's very comparable to when we played Sociedad away, where we had Fabian on the left, we had Warren on the right, Vitinha in the center, and then Dembele as this open man that was always dropping deep, and then Barcola and Mbappe as the 2 outlets. Now it's Barcola and Dembele as the 2 outlets, and Asensio is playing that Dembele role pretty much, and then João Neves is the Fabian role. So whenever we play teams, we always have a numerical advantage in the field, especially with Hakimi and Nuno Mendes being able to invert, and hopefully Marquinhos and Pacho can stop, pushing up a little bit more. Because that's actually one thing I've seen about Pacho, his passing. His passing is the only thing missing from, the great version of Pacho. I mean, his defensive aggressivity, all of that is working really well. But I'm looking at his passes. His passes at Frankfurt were much better, which just shows he's not that confident yet, but we just have to wait. Because that will give us an extra element. And as I've said, last season was all about creating chances for Kylian Mbappe. This season is the opposite. I mean, I don't think we have 1 player or 2 players we're creating all the chances for, but the players that will get the majority of the chances are Ousmane Dembele and Bradley Barcola. They've taken the most shots. They've scored goals. They're always threatening. They're always there. Most touches in the opposition box and so on. The real question is, what happens when Gonçalo Ramos comes back? Do PSG still play more for the wingers? And Gonçalo plays more as an Asensio, and then obviously sometimes crashes into the box, hold the centre-backs and so on? Or will Dembele and Barcola look more for Gonçalo? I don't think so. I think Barcola wants to continue what he's doing. As I've said, the interesting stat, Barcola hasn't registered a single key pass this entire season. So I think Barcola will just continue doing that. Selfish game, but I mean, that's what makes him great. That's what made Robin great. He had so many outlets, so many people he could pass to. He was like, no, I'm going to cut in. And majority of the time he scored. So I love that from Bradley Barcola. And then Ousmane Dembele, he's just doing better at everything, single thing he's doing this season. And on top of that, taking more shots or they having a goal. Hopefully we get some more goals from Dembele. But as I said, when Gonçalo comes back, I don't think so. I don't think Gonçalo is that good that Lucho will suddenly tell the team to play differently because of him. But it will be interesting to see. And it will be interesting to see if Luis Enrique tries Akanji Lee or even, as I've said, Desiree Doué. Desiree Doué up in that attack. Because he could potentially be able to play that role as a playmaker to both Dembele and Barcola. Because, I mean, Doué is not going to be a starter over Barcola. I think that's extremely clear. And he's not going to be a starter over Dembele. I mean, that's even more clear. So the only positions for Desiree Doué is possibly in the midfield. So you could... I mean, Neves and Vitinha are not going to be dropped based on quality. Warren, though, there's a question mark around him. So he could potentially take Warren's place, and Neves drops deep and plays in the double pivot with Vitinha, and he plays up there. Or, as I said, Doué could play as the false 9. He could play as the false 9, and then you have Warren, Neves, Vitinha midfield. We could potentially put Fabian there as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of competition. I'm happy with all the positions. As said, apart from the backup fullbacks, and obviously we could have had a much better, focal point to the player that plays in that central area. But as said, I'm not here to complain. I'm not here to talk about the window. I'm here to talk about the players that we have and how we can get the best out of them. At the moment, it's looking good. Obviously, we'll have to see more games to see how PSG without Mbappe looks. But as we knew PSG would look better without Neymar, Messi, Ramos, all of these guys, we knew that PSG would look better without Kylian Mbappe. And merci to Luis Enrique, merci to Luis Campos, merci to Nasser Khalifi, our president, our sporting director, and our manager. Let's go for a great season. Let's make 2024-2025 season a great season to a Paris Saint Germain supporter. Let me know in the comments down below. Is there anything you've noticed in the 3 games we've played so far that I missed to mention? That's been it from your boy PSGINT. And as usual, allez Paris.